So when buying an old race car, you can't just stick it on the track and go racing. You need to check everything out. So I had a problem where I wasn't able to roll the car around very well. Something was catching in the front. So quick inspection found out that on the passenger side here, there was a nut that is on the caliper, that holds the caliper on, that is actually interfering with the two-piece rotor bolts. So they've damaged the thread at some stage and they've just chucked the nut and bolt in there, and the nut itself is actually too large, and so it hits just there as the wheel's trying to turn. So that was a good little find. So today's job is we're gonna rectify that so the car can actually roll and move. So you can see a custom bracket that they've made to bolt on the Commodore caliper with whatever rotor is that they're using. So we'll remove the bracket and have a look at getting the thread back on. So just having a quick measure of how deep it needs to be. You can just see here with the straight edge about how much extra it was hanging out than what it needs to be. So I'm going to continue to use the nut that they had on there. So, but it's about 2 times too thick. So I did a quick measure, need to know how to machine it down. So we'll put it on the spin spinner. Some people call it a lathe. And we'll machine it down to the right size. Just doing the final cut to get to the correct dimension. Deburr the edges, the old linisher. And then I've got a deburring tool here that I'm just using in the hand drill. They're quite a handy bit of kit. Always good to clean up your holes and clean up your threads. So here it is, bolted back on with the caliper. That's exactly where it needs to be. We'll tack it in place while it's bolted to the caliper so it's exactly in the right location, but I don't want to fully weld it and put all that heat through the caliper. So we'll take it off and weld up the bracket on the old TIG welder. There we have it. Welded. So it's important that things look pretty when you finish working on them, so a quick coat of paint makes it look a bit more presentable, and once that dries we'll bolt her back on, and that's the bracket repair all sorted. So here we go, you can see the clearance there now. No longer interfering with the nuts on the two-piece rotor there. So that's just lovely. Look at that, lovely. So moving on now, these are the master cylinders for the brake system. They're out of a Mazda Capella, I believe. So we managed to get another one off eBay actually for a reasonable price. So we'll swap them out rather than having it rebuilt, because I got quoted a fair amount. So we're going to rebuild the Girlock calipers. These are a Commodore caliper, so they're pretty straightforward, just single piston. It's just a matter of removing them, all the old seals, and replacing them with a new one from the kit that we got. Now, this was the second caliper that I've done. The first one came apart real easy and was great, and this one just did not want to play the game, and I got quite frustrated and had to try some pretty creative things to get this piston out. So she was stuck in there pretty good. So got the puller on there, trying to clamp down, holding that, so then I can then tap the caliper off. Now this worked a real dream on the first one. They just popped straight out, no dramas. I thought it was going to be the same, but yeah, that's just the way the game goes sometimes. So lots of different methods of trying to get it out, and just was perseverance in the end that got it done. This is the reason why you need to go through all these sorts of parts on an old race car, because to think that you can just have a car sitting around for a long time and it's going to fire up and drive no worries is not going to happen. So here we see the piston finally came out with a little bit of a gentle persuasion, and there she is. So you have a good look in here of the sorts of things that we were dealing with. So it was quite a good feeling to have that out. It made me want to do this. So now the calipers are all apart, we've got all the seals out, and you can see all that filth that was in them. That's the sort of thing that's going to stop them from working properly. The fluid's actually what's called hygroscopic, so it actually likes to retain moisture. So you can see there's a lot of moisture in that caliper. That's all cleaned out now. So we're going to give them a coat of paint. Now, a good coat of paint is all in the preparation. So trying to get as much junk off as we can with a wire brush there. A bit of wax and grease remover on the rest of the bracket here. Give it a good clean. This is some paint I had lying around the shop. It is proper brake caliper paint, so as you can appreciate, brakes get fairly hot, so this paint is rated for high temp. Here's part of the aluminium part of the caliper. It's all taped up for all the parts that I don't want to get paint on. Same thing, I had this paint lying around, but you know, do you really have a race car if your calipers aren't painted red is the real question that we have to answer here. So red calipers should hopefully look pretty nice behind the wheels. So just give it a fairly thin coat and then waited a couple of hours to dry and repeated, so it had several coats of paint. So just removing all the tape here. That leaves all those machine parts that I don't want any tape on, that are going to be greased, and basically the moving parts of the caliper you don't want to be painted. So I've got a little rebuild kit here that I got from the brake store. Super easy to get for the Commodore caliper. So just a seal goes on the inside. A bit of grease that I have lying around for this sorts of thing. So we've got to keep everything nice and clean and well lubed when it's going back together. So. And the other important thing if you're doing this sort of work is you shouldn't be forcing anything. So make sure everything's super clean and then greased correctly. And obviously we're using the hammer to get things apart, but you definitely shouldn't be using a hammer to put things back together. So if things aren't going and you're finding yourself forcing stuff, something's wrong. Just stop and have a good look at what's happening. So you can see all nice new fresh rubber, it all just slides back together just nicely. So that's what you want. Bit of wheel bearing grease here in the slides. So these slides either side of the caliper, that black bracket bolts to the silver bracket that we were just repairing at the start of the video, and then the caliper slides on those pins. So it's quite easy for those seals, those dust seals there, to be damaged and junk get in there, and then the grease gets a bit tacky, and then your calipers are not working nice and smooth. So now that's all clean and we got fresh grease and all new seals, they should just slide. It's super nice. Oh, mate. Oh, mate, look at that. Oh, mate. So the brake pads are pretty decent. No need to get new ones. I think they're actually a pretty decent compound. We found some old boxes in the boot that was saying that they were some sort of race pad, so they can go back in, no dramas. There we go, rebuilt calipers. So we'll get them back on the car. Looking much nicer and much fresher than they have being sat around for 20 years. So this means we can just head out to the racetrack, and it's one last thing to worry about because we know that they are as good as they're going to be. So yeah, if you can do as much preparation as you can before getting out to the track, it just means you can focus on much more interesting things while you're out there. So all freshly rebuilt brakes is one less drama. Oh, look at that. Oh, thanks for watching. Hope you've been enjoying the videos. Catch you on the next one.